Welcome to the Introductory to Photoshop tutorial. I have on my screen right now what the drive looks like that has all of our files. So you'll need to download this file right here, the number 3 file, download it to your downloads. And so let me switch little things here, get right here. Okay. So I have double clicked my zipped file, which has opened it up and made it into a separate file. So I have a different folder here, but I can double click it again and it gives me a second one. All right. So I'm going to open this file up so that we can see what I'm doing. There's just a few files in each one of them. The second one has a few more, but there's not very many. I just want you to do it a little bit more than just one photograph so that you'll kind of start getting the hang of the tools. All right, now I'm going to share my Photoshop landing page. Okay, yours may not look exactly like this because you do have some ways to make it look different. You can make it a list, you can make it icons. It's really up to you. And you can sort it in several different ways. You can sort it by name, you can sort it by the type, the day that you put it in, all of those sorts of things. Okay, so you can see that it kind of sorts it in different ways. So don't worry if yours doesn't look exactly like this. So you have the ability to go up here and make a new file that's going to be empty. And I do that occasionally, but we're not going to really do it this time. I'm going to always give you something to work on. So I have the file open on my recent files, but I'm just going to go ahead and open it as if I don't have that file open. So I'm going to go to the crop and touch up, which is the first file in this group of files. So I'm going to click on this one, and now I've got my file. It should be an old file from an old photograph from a La Ventana of the administration building when there was practically nothing else there. You can see the pavilion over here. You can see a small building here. I'm not even sure if that building's still here, but it looks pretty barren. You can only imagine all the stuff we have here now. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to crop this photograph because, like I said, it was taken from a La Ventana. So that means that I've got part of my computer keyboard showing here. I've got edges of the book and all of that kind of stuff. There's just more than I want with um, this particular lab. So before we get started, let's go up to the main menu, which is this one up above here. Mine has a space here, and it's because of the resolution that I use my computer at. So you may or may not have this gap here. Don't worry if you don't. So go to Window. Window is your best friend. If there's some tool or some thing that you want to use and you can't find it, let's just whatever kind of tool it might be, you will find it under Window. Window has everything here. You can see that it has like the layers, it has shapes and properties and timeline and swatches and all of those kinds of things that you might find that you need that for some reason have just disappeared off of your workspace. So I am going to go to the workspace to begin with. Now, there are a whole bunch of different choices, and each one of these brings a different tool to the ball game. And since we're going to be doing work on photographs, I want you to choose photography. And I'm going to go ahead and reset that because in case I've moved something around. So I'm going to reset that. Okay, so it has kind of changed the way that it looks just a little bit. So I'm going to start with the crop tool. Now these, I will go through them as we need them. So don't worry, we're going to get to these. But first tool I'm going to use is this one right here, the crop tool. So I'm going to use the tool that's on top. So I've got this little um, cropping thing. It looks like if you were to put your hands together, like you're framing a photograph for an old movie or something. Anyway, that's what that is all about. So I'm going to start right here. I haven't clicked anything yet. I'm waiting. I'm just moving my mouse around. So I found the top right-hand corner that I want to use. And so I'm going to take it. I'm going to try and crop off all of this stuff so I don't have as much work to do. So when you, and I clicked and I held it all the way. Like if you let go of it, it's going to make this image. And that's basically giving you a preview of what it's going to crop. And you can move things around once you get there. If you, I'm going to move this up a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. If I can. Here we go. Okay, so if you want to set to accept that, you hit done and it crops it. If you don't like the way that it looks after you get through, there are two things you can do. I prefer the key command, which is Command Z. And when you hit Command and then Z, you get it back to the beginning. Now, there is another way that you can do it. This history bar right up here, it's in the corner, it's automatically there. So it's showing, and if it's not there, go to Window and look for history. Okay, so now this is how it was when it first opened up. And then we opened it and then we cropped it. So you can see that you can go back and forth in time and see what really was happening on your screen. So I'm going to go back to open because I did not like my crop. And before I do my crop this time, I want to use another tool. It should be up at the top. It looks like a leveling thing that a carpenter would use or something. It has a little place for a bubble. You click that, and then you get a tool that looks very similar to the one you clicked. So if you want something to be straight, and I'm not necessarily going to straighten it with this little split in the uh, image, I'm going to straighten it by something that's in the building. And let's see, it's not much off, but what I did was let me undo that. Open. Okay, I need to cancel that. It won't let me make a change on the history. I have to come down here and cancel it. So I'm still going to be using this tool. So you find a place that you want to start, you click, you hold it, and you drag it. And you see it's just slightly off. Always pick something that's really easy for you to follow, because if you waver off, it's going to really be crooked when you get through. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back down. I unclick, and what has it done? Let me back up a little bit. And what I'm doing there to get farther away from the screen, I am holding down the Command key and I'm hitting the plus key to get closer and the minus key right next to it to get farther away. So that shows me, oops, that shows me exactly where it's going to crop. And you can see that it's not straight now. So what I need to do now is to move this thing so I can see a little bit better. There we go. I'm going to say done, and then it straightens it. Okay, so now I can crop it knowing that everything is straight, exactly the way I wanted it. So I'm going to go back and make sure that I have my crop tool selected. I'm going to click, hold the click, and pull all the way across until I think I like it. And remember, we can make a few adjustments. I'm going to get the corner of the building in just a little bit. And then I'm going to say, okay. So now we've got, and I'm hitting the command and the plus so I can get really close. As you can see, there's just some really terrible things happening. You know, whenever a photograph is this old, I think it was like from 1946 or something, you're going to have a lot of just time. Time just wears things out. So now I'm going to go over and look at my layer panel. Here are a bunch of different panels that have things that you can use that are not tools. So here are your tools that you select, and here are the panels that give you different things, and we'll go through these as we use them. So this is called the layer, and it's considered the background layer right now because it has this little lock. If you want, and so if you want to unlock it, you can just click on it, and now it's layer 0. You'll know if it's just by hearing what the name of the layer is, whether or not it's locked. So if it's called a background, then it's locked. If it's not locked, it has layer 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whenever you make more layers. This little eyeball right here, if you click it, it makes it makes that layer disappear. It's really useful when you have more than one layer. So now we've got this done, and sometimes it won't let you do anything if you have the layer locked. But so I always unlock it to begin with just to make sure I have full access. One other thing I want to make sure that I have is image mode. And I have RGB selected, which is good because if I choose any other of the modes, that means that it's not going to, it'll be grayed out like this. Like this is grayed out right here. It will gray out some of my choices if I have it in RGB. If I don't have it in RGB. Said that backwards. Sorry about that. Okay, so I've checked that. Okay, I need a different tool. So the first tool I'm going to use is the Spot Healing Brush. And I'm going to click that. Okay, and you see I've got the circle now. That is the symbol for all of the programs for a brush. And so a brush, you can change the size if you go up here to the top and pull down, and then you can slide these sliders over and make it smaller. And now hardness is one of those things that you can't really see until you start using it. But let me tell you, if you have it 100% hard, it's going to be like a dot. It's going to have hard edges, and it doesn't really blend in well when we're doing something like touch up. So hardness needs to always be over in the very small numbers. I generally put it at 0 unless I'm wanting to, if I need to change it some, but I generally leave it at 0. So now I have a pretty small brush. And so it's going to be okay for some of these things. So you just click, hold it, and drag a little bit, and click and hold and drag. And it's cleaning up things. And it's doing pretty well. I'm pretty satisfied with the size of it, and it's doing what I need. But let's say I want to start working on this. Okay, it's not really going to do enough. I need a bigger brush. But instead of going back up here and having to drag this thing out, there is a key command that you can use, and it's the brackets. The brackets are right next to, it's on the 1, 2, 3, fourth row from the bottom, and it's right next to the P on the right-hand side. There's a key that's got a forward slash, and then between the forward slash and the P, that's where the brackets are. And the brackets are the ones that you use without having your caps locked. So if you use the left bracket key and just click and click, it makes it smaller. If you use the right bracket key, you make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. So that way you can do it just really quick, because once you start doing this kind of stuff, you want to save as much time as you can. So now I'm going to try it like this, and it's still not doing what I want to do. So I'm going to go back up to my history, and I am going to make sure I'm not losing any of the stuff I want to keep. But I'm going to go here until, okay, I just saw the first movement there. So I'm going to back up so that I don't have any of that affecting that big line. So we're going to use a different tool now. This tool is down here on my view. It's called a clone stamp tool, and you can see it pretty well looks like a clone stamp. There are two different versions of it, and in this one we're going to be using the clone stamp, the one that's on the top. So I like the size of my brush, so I'm going to click. Oh, wow, I can't do anything. What is this? Okay, let me tell you what you need to do. Take it over to the side. And a clone tool is just like a rubber stamp. It doesn't come up with anything. It doesn't make content. It's not content aware. You have to pick the content that you want to use and that you want to clone. So find the place you want to be, click the option tool, and then you get that little target there. So click once with your mouse and just click and let up. And then when you move, you see you have selected your background. You've selected what you want to use to clone. And the good thing about cloning with this tool is whenever you select over here, it automatically, you can see where it's going. It automatically goes up with your brush. Okay. So if you want to change it, you just come back to another area and you click again, and then you can use, there we go. See, I've got rid of that. So this is going to be really hard to make look really good. I just wanted something that was really bad so that you could really see what it is that we're doing here. Okay, so I'm going to continue with this tool right here with the cloning tool. And I'm going to pick this, and it's just a little too big. I'm going to make it smaller by using the left bracket key. And I'm just going to redo my target just to make sure. So now I can bring it over and I can be much more precise. And I change my target sometimes because I just don't want that tree to get reproduced there. Okay. So I'm going to come over here to the building, and you can see that the tile kind of starts sloping in and stuff like that. So I'm going to go over a little ways from where my actual area that I want to clone is. And I'm going to click right there, and then you can see that I have got the tile cloned. So I'm going to make sure that I'm kind of in the right area and click and click. Okay, I didn't do a perfect job, but it's pretty close. So you can move down and you can readjust yourself a little bit and do that. And the really great thing is I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I am going to start at the top of this window by making a new target. Then I can come over here to this window that's kind of obscured, and I can start and I can make a brand new window. Okay, I want you guys to fool around with this a little bit. I am not going to tell you exactly how much to do. I don't want you to spend 5 hours on this one photograph. I do want you to do enough that you get comfortable with the tools. But I am going to grade for effort rather than like if artistic ability. Okay, so you can use this here. You can go back to your, I don't like those things popping up, but it might be helpful. So you can use this to um, do that. You can use the tool we started off with, and you can make people disappear. You can make the trash disappear. Let me show you one more thing for you to use. It's this patch looking thing that's below the Band-Aids. Let's see, this one is, I just wanted to see this one for a second. It's not giving me the name. Okay, but you can try it anyway. This one is doing content aware. And so that's probably not a good one to be using on this particular project. Okay, use the patch. And see what the patch does is you click and hold the click, draw around something that you want to fix, and then let go, and it gives you this dotted line. This is called marching ants. So if I say marching ants, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's telling me to move it over a little bit like this, and you see it does make that disappear. So I want you to use the Band-Aid tools, and I want you to use the patch and the crop tool. I'm not the crop tool, the clone tool to work on getting this kind of touched up and I want you to get rid of most of this line. Yeah, you could get rid of all that line. And so that's exactly what I want you to do for this particular one. So I'm going to stop here. You stop the video and you can work on this one. So in a second, I'm going to show you the next photograph and then we'll work on that one. And when you save, be sure and save it with your name and save it in your folder with your name. Okay, so save. All right, so I'm going to open up the next file, which is in the same folder. I'm going to click that one, and you can see it's a different photograph. It's also an old photograph. So what I want you to do is to take your crop tool, click and hold it, and go just for the photograph. I don't want to, it's good for a family album to have the name of the person, but I am going to get rid of the name just because I don't want it on there. Okay, so now I've got it just the way I want it. So I say done. And there's quite a bit to fix in here. So just choose the tool that you like the best and just go over and fix these little things. I'm going to try this tool right here, but I don't know if it's the best situation. It's not bad, but at the top, it's not going to work. I'm going to use the clone tool for the top. So I am going to choose this area and click there and there. Anytime you have something that's a really stark break, like I'm using the Command plus to get closer, like right here where this shadow and tire are, it's going to be really hard for you to get that done with one of the Band-Aid. Okay, so I'm going to click right here, and I'm just going to go slowly across with a couple of clicks, and then I'm going to just, oops, that didn't work so well. You just have to kind of maneuver to make sure that you are not overstepping the bounds and making it look really weird. It takes some practice, so that's why I've given you more than one to work on so that you can get a little more practice. If you want to do more uh, work on these kind of things, go to your own photographs. I bet your mom or your grandmom has a whole bunch of old photographs that she would just dearly love for you to have. Okay, I'm going to leave that. And so some of these curves are really hard to do. You have to go back and forth and try and match up the edges. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, I'm going to stop on that particular piece right there. Um, Whenever you're doing something on a human face, think about what you would like somebody to do to your face. Like, don't leave something hanging in somebody's nose. I'm going to get a little closer here. Now you can see the pixels when I get to that percentage of enlargement. Cancel. Okay, I keep thinking I have the I was doing the clone tool and it does, I have the brush select, I mean the okay, I do need the clone tool for this. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and then I'm going to pick my target and then I'm going to fill that in. Don't leave things on somebody's face that you wouldn't want somebody to leave on your face. Like clean up the little pieces of dirt. If they've got something in their nose, please clean that up. But you don't have to get every single one of these because I mean, you can really get in the weeds, you can get into the pixels. There's just get the main ones taken care of, like this big line right here. There we go. This big line right here is really the biggest problem with this photograph because you don't want to take away the character of the old photograph for sure. I'm going to make my brush a little bigger and I'm using the healing one so I don't have to set a target. Oh, okay. And try not to have shapes repeating. Like if I were to, clone tool does it better. Let me do this with the clone tool. If I am doing something and it all of a sudden I start to have repeating patterns like that, that is a dead giveaway of photoshopping. So be sure you don't do that. You need to move things around or use the healing brush so that you don't get that kind of a pattern set up because it really does kind of give you away a little bit. Sometimes I use two tools. Like I'll do something with the clone and then I'll kind of smooth it out with the brush, the healing brush. Okay, so I haven't done all of the crack there, but I've gotten a pretty good amount of it. So you go ahead and practice and get it as clean as you can, and then put it in that folder with your name in it. So I'm going to stop this right now. You continue to work and you stop the video, and then whenever we get to the next one, we'll start with the new one. Okay, now we're going to go to okay, there we go. We're going to go to the next one, which is levels. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated. So this photograph is pretty flat. There's not very much, it's mainly midtones and it's all kind of muddy. And it's a cute little cat picture, but it's not a good picture as far as the actual exposure and everything is. So I'm going to go over to the single adjustments on the right-hand side in my panels. If you don't have adjustments, you go to Window and you go to Adjustments. Okay, and that has to have a check for it to be active in your panel. So I'm going to use something, I mean, there's a lot of different choices here. I'm going to use levels on this one. So when I click on it, I get this extra window coming out, and you can see that this histogram is showing what levels of different colors you have. And we've got the different channels that we can look at. We've got the different channels we can look at, like we can look at the red and you can see it moves a little bit. The green, it moves a little bit. But I'm just going to leave it with the RGB. I'm going to have all of the information in this window. So if you remember when we were talking about RGB, zero, the number zero represents black. It has no light there at all. And the number 255 represents white, which means that it had in this histogram, there is no white and there is no black. So I'm going to start with the black side. I'm going to take this little slider and I'm going to move it over and see what's happening in the photograph as I move it. As I add some black to that histogram, it starts to look a little better. So I'm going to go and do the same thing to the white side. And you can see if I go really far, that it starts blowing things out. But if I scoot back to the edge and just give it a little bit. Now this middle one is the midtones. And I always swing it really far so that whenever it starts looking better, and when I start getting too far, I can back it up a little bit. Okay, so let's look at what we did. So I can click this off and you can see where we started. And I click this back on and you can see where we are now. So that's a very big improvement. So let me close this. So now you can go in and feel free to make changes if you're seeing some little specks you don't like, and it's not the best focus either. These are just we're just playing. We're just playing. So you can still make your if you want to make some changes. I'm going to use my little patch tool again so that I can really grab that. And it says to go this direction. You don't have to go that direction. And now I see what I'm doing wrong. Very good. I'm glad that I could do something wrong so I can show you. So I'm going to pull my layers back up. See this blue box? It might be a different color on yours depending on um, what colors you have set in your preference. But the highlighted box, the highlighted layer, because this is a different layer, I can click it off and I can click it on. I'm working on that. So that means that it's not affecting this layer at all. So I'm going to click here and change what I have selected. So now let me show you what happens. See, now we're getting somewhere. And I'll bet my other tool will work now too. Yes, it does. So you can play around a little bit with that. Okay, you could even crop it if you want to. I sort of like this crop, but I'm not. If you don't, feel free to crop it. Okay, I may be cleaning a spot off of my screen. Okay, so that's what I want you to do with this one. So stop the video, work with the cat picture, and get it to where you like it, and then put that into your folder with your name on it. Okay, this is the second one in the levels. So I'm going to show you how to do levels just a little bit differently on this one. So I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to choose a level again, and it's going to give me the same window as we had before. But this time, instead of sliding the sliders, I'm going to start off with using these little droppers right here. So the one that's on the bottom that has nothing in it is the white side of the histogram. The one that's on the top is the black one of the histogram. And the one in the middle is supposed to be middle gray, 50% gray. If you want to get really technical about it, you can get exactly 50% gray, or you can just kind of pick what you think is the midtone. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the very blackest color, the very darkest color on this whole thing. And there's a lot that's dark here. So there's really not a wrong answer. Just be sure you pick a really dark area. So I'm going to click right there. So that's the dark. Now I'm going to do the white area. Now this is a very, very white kitty. I'm going to command plus, plus, plus. So I am going to pick somewhere on his little face because he obviously has some light here on him. So I'm going to just click somewhere in here. And now that's my white. And you can see that I have made a huge change over here. Let's take a look at what we've got now. I'm going to turn this off and turn it back on, and you can see how much we've improved it. Now, I have not picked a middle gray because I think I want to do it over here because it's kind of getting a little bit crazy. Okay, so there is that. So now remember to go back to your background and click off that lock, and then go and use your tools to clean up or crop or whatever you'd like to do to it. Okay, so now stop the video and work on this one, and I'll be back with the next one in just a second. Okay, this is one of my favorite family photos. Actually, it's from my husband's family, so I have no idea who this is. Not a clue. He doesn't either, which is the sad part. But it was some guy from Turkey, Texas, way, way back in the, if you could see what that license plate says, I imagine it's in the 40s. Let's just look real quick. 40 something. His coat sleeve is hiding what it is. I imagine it's probably later in the 40s after World War II. All right, so on this one, I'm going to use levels again, but I'm going to let you do this one on your own. You've already done some levels, you know what to do. So stop the video and work on this file. This is actually from the Joshua Tree National Forest. This is my big brother. Yeah, he's 4 years older than me, so you can only imagine. He's very tall. He's like 6 foot now and gray hair. Anyway, I am going to use levels on this one just to show you what levels looks like on a real 4-color photograph. So you can see, of course, that red is very dominant here. Green is not, so it's a kind of all over the place. So I am going to just, of course, use it again, the same RGB, and I'm going to pick some white here. So I'm going to pick his shirt. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Going to pick black, and I'm thinking somewhere in the shadow of his blue jeans. It's probably the darkest. And then I'm going to pick a middle gray here. I think this faraway mountain. That is not correct. You can see when you've gone wrong. So let's try on his cuff. That's closer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the blue, and I'm going to play with the blue just a little bit. Oh, look at that. We have some blue. I think that's pretty good. Sometimes these old photographs, because this is like from 1963, it's really hard to get a good color because of the types of films that they were using then, and the fact that this is a slide and it's aged. So there's a lot of factors working against it, but it does look incredibly better. We've gone from this really reddish looking photograph to a much nicer color. So on this one, you can touch up also after you've done your color correction and put it into your folder. On to the next series of photographs. So stop your video and work on your photograph, and then I'll be back with another one in just a minute. Okay, we're back. This photograph is very, very blue. It was taken at an Ad Federation Addy party, and there were blue spotlights and there were wigs involved, and it just really doesn't look, it's pretty unrecognizable. So this time I'm going to use brightness. So I'm going to unlock that and pull this down. And so where is brightness? Brightness and contrast. It was at the top. So it's kind of going to work a little bit like the levels does, but the histogram is over here. We don't really have a histogram here, and I'm not going to try and get one. So, but before I do that, I'm going to give you a little clue. Sometimes using the auto fixes it just as well as you can with sliding it. I sometimes use it whenever I'm kind of confused about what it's going to look. So I start with this, and it did a pretty good job. Now I think that there's still a little bit too much red in it, so I'm just gonna, no, that's just what's going to happen. It's just not a good color photograph. But now you can actually see some of the details in the photograph. So don't hesitate to use the auto sometimes. Sometimes you can start with the auto and then kind of get it a little bit more more perfect with your own eye. So use the automatic if you like. You can come in here and maybe clean up a few things that are kind of too dark, I mean too bright, like that little thing, whatever that is. It looks like it's something in his pocket. I don't know. But just go ahead and play with that and get it cropped and cleaned up and put it in your folder with that you've named with your name. So stop the video and work on the photograph, and I will see you in just a sec. All right, welcome back. This photograph actually looks pretty good to me. You're going to notice that I have lots of pictures of cats. I'm sorry, you take pictures of what's around you. So anyway, um, I'm going to use brightness on this one again because it worked pretty well for that other one. So I'm going to try auto first. Made it quite a lot better, but I'm gonna just work on it on my own to see if I can get it as good as that. So I'm gonna undo it. So I could just delete this layer on my layers. I could delete this and start over, or I can use this button right here, which makes you go back to the beginning. So I'm going to revert it. So now we have what we started with. So I think that the auto took it just a little too far, and I might even want to go this direction. Don't worry about going all the way to the edge because sometimes you have to do that just to get the right colors. No, I'm thinking I like that pretty well. I'm gonna turn it off for a second. Ah, it's too much. Okay. It's really funny how you think a photograph looks really good and then you do a little adjustment to it, and all of a sudden you see, I did not have that great of a photograph to begin with. Honestly, I don't generally, if I'm taking photographs for someone or for a project, I generally fix the photograph before anybody can see it. I don't like my raw photographs being out in the wild because it's just, I don't know. It's just I want to fix it first because I know that I can make it better. No matter how good and how perfect the light was, I can make it better. Okay, so you can do some cropping or some touch up on some of this stuff and then name it and put it in your folder. And so let me just check the folder, but I believe that that is the last of our work in this particular one. Yep, this is just a PDF of the the lab, uh, the PowerPoint, the deck. You don't really need to even look at that. So do these three different things, and then we will get back. We'll come back and find some more really fun things to do. I'll show you some more advanced things because Photoshop has a lot of power. You can do a lot of things in it and really make it. I mean, Lightroom, I'm sure some of you have used Lightroom. You can make your photographs look better in Lightroom. Absolutely. No doubt about it. You can even touch up some and crop and that sort of thing, straighten. But the next lesson, the next lab we're going to do is going to show how powerful Photoshop is, and Lightroom can't do what I'm going to do. So we're going to do some fun stuff in the next lab. So I'll see you in a little bit.